Welcome to Share Talk, the only podcast where investors come first.
Its share price may continually decline, as I warned it would all the way from 20p down, but Anglo African Oil and Gas continues to issue news, the latest being that they have enough cash to keep going until the end of March. Who is really in charge at Anglo African is not clear, but with the ISA shares now gone at a fixed price and the convertible loan note financing no longer needed, at least it is possible for the shares to move up. This is a highly questionable company, and I doubt the real control parties have actually changed, but with a new deal in, which seems a strong possibility, it could be back in business. The market remains unimpressed for the meantime though, with the shares at 0.375p, 25% below the 0.5p price paid by the new people who so far are biding their time. Africa is a nice excuse for Zenith Energy to do yet another raise. Anglo African's new partner in Tilapia took the opportunity to place again today, this time nearly £1 million at 1.68p. Whoever listened to those touting it at up to 2.9p recently got shafted. They probably don't realise they may have been buying shares being sold short, which would then be covered in the lower priced placing. Zen is another one I've constantly warned about, while others have been promoting it as a so-called bargain. Another investor favourite, Block Energy, finally announced its operations update. Gas is being flared, so that has no value currently, and they're still having to truck away water, which appears to be nearly 80% of their production. They don't exactly try to be clear, quite the opposite in fact, but it appears from what they say that actual oil production is just over 100 barrels of oil per day. They say they're hitting the ground running as they enter 2020, but what about that 1,000 barrels of oil per day production that the CEO and his promoters were touting last year? It's the same sort of nonsense as Anglo African Oil and Gas and Zenith Energy, and although the company will have the occasional run-up in its share price, overall and longer term it's going the same way, to virtual zero. The control parties don't exactly have much confidence either, since the misleadingly named Georgia Oil and Gas Limited of the British Virgin Islands, which actually is run from Switzerland, and who almost certainly would have known the flow rates, sold over 4.5 million shares before the announcement. Every red flag possible is flying here. Block is another one I've warned about numerous times. It's difficult to imagine that some people still see Anglo African, Block Energy and Zenith as serious companies, but they do and lose serious money. Moving on, Lekol announced that Otak Ikpo is currently producing 2,122 barrels of oil per day net to Lek's subsidiary LOGL. Their expansion project has the potential to increase production on the field up to 8,000 barrels of oil per day net to LOGL, although the subsidiary also carries a term loan debt of $19.2 million at LIBOR plus a massive 10%. The big play at LEC is OPL 310, in respect of which $2 million has to be paid on or before 20 March 2020, $7.6 million has to be paid on or before 2 May 2020, and evidence of their ability to fund 42.86% of the costs and expenses for drilling the first OPL appraisal well has to be provided by July 2020. The financing is certainly coming up, and I doubt it will just be debt this time. Developments at Jersey Oil and Gas, who announced the acquisition of Equinor's 70% interest in licence P2170. Payment terms are $3 million upon sanctioning by the Oil and Gas Authority of the Field Development Plan, $5 million upon first oil and an undisclosed royalty. This increases total 2C discovered resources across the Greater Buchan area to 142 million barrels of oil equivalent net to JOG. They will be launching a farm-out process to attract partners. Unfortunately, the market doesn't appear to be hugely impressed with their news. UK Oil and Gas announced they are bringing HH1 into production during spring 2020, followed by HH2Z upon completion of the current extended well test. This will enable recoverable reserves to be allocated to the project, a key first step to help access debt-based funding. HH2Z water shut-off intervention is to proceed in February. In relation to Loxley 1, the planning application will be heard by Surrey County Council at the end of February, and if approved, the company plans to commence drilling in the winter of 2020-21. Barron Oil returned from suspension. Its reverse takeover of Sunder Gas has been terminated. They still have an entitlement to an effective 25% interest in the Chudditz Petroleum sharing contract offshore Timor-Leste, providing they reimburse their $500,000 share of costs before 26 April 2020. Perhaps of more immediate interest, an experienced local operator with onshore drilling capacity has expressed a desire to drill their Peru block, farming in by contributing a substantial portion of the costs in return for equity in the block. Drilling this well would be a relatively low-cost operation, estimated at $1.4 million gross, with 2 independent reservoir targets, which would offer shareholders drilling activity during 2020 and the potential for significant additional value on discovery. They also have a 15% share of the Corallian prospects, but apart from Raybould Resources rabbiting on about a huge discovery, I think everyone else accepts that Coulter is dead. Currently, I wouldn't pay too much attention to the talk about the Inner Moray Firth licences either. With $346,000 cash as of 31 December 19, a fundraising clearly now is imminent. As a general comment, overall, I see a lot of people in this market making a lot of bad choices and losing a lot of money. Reality is that there are around 10 or so what I would call certainties each year. If you can stick with those, you can make money and quite a lot of it. Unfortunately, most people lack patience. You also need to get in at the start, not later when it's already up 50 to 100% or more. If you find out too late and you've missed the initial price rise, then just hold back and wait for the next one. That's how you actually make money in this market. If you're interested in knowing my trading ideas, then subscribe to the private blog at allnewslondon.com/Allman-Jim. There is no minimum term and you can unsubscribe at any time. There's also a first month's trial subscription at 25% of the usual monthly cost, so why not give it a go? For those who are not familiar with me, I focus exclusively on small-cap oil and gas companies, and I know this sector inside out. I've been involved in the stock markets, both UK and US, since the early 1980s, and understand exactly how the finance and promotion game works. I also have many years operational and corporate experience in the oil business, which enables me to see very quickly whether or not these companies are telling the truth. It's not investment advice that I offer, and if you want that, you should speak with a financial advisor. I share my take on companies and the markets, and as those who follow me know, I'm rarely wrong about these matters. I'll be back at the weekend with a full blog and podcast. In the meantime, I wish everyone a very successful rest of the week.
Thank you for listening. Remember to visit our website for more news and other podcasts at www.share-talk.com.